What is going on, everybody? We are back for XBL episode 59. Tonight, joining us, we have Charlie Hustle, and I believe Darth Praxis will be joining us a little later on. But yeah, Sentinel, Charlie Hustle, how are you guys doing? Have you had a good week? What have you been playing? You know, all that fun stuff. Let us know.
I'm great. I'll let Charlie go first. Go ahead, Charlie.
I appreciate that. Doing well today. Actually had sort of a nasty virus last week. It wasn't COVID, but did not feel too well, so I didn't do a whole lot of gaming. I did a little bit on Tears of the Kingdom and played a little Gears 5, but other than that, there just wasn't a whole lot going on gaming-wise, which I absolutely hated. But I felt so bad I didn't even want to play portably like on the Switch or anything. So other than that, I'm much better this week. But I haven't had a chance to really jump into anything too much yet, as it was probably just about Monday before I got over that. But doing well today, which I'm thankful for, and looking forward to being on this podcast. I appreciate the invite very much. Honored to be here and looking forward to it.
I'll get a bit of feedback there. So, yeah, no worries. It's good to have you on. We kind of came in tonight with a bit of a game plan, but obviously with last night's showcase, that's probably going to go out the window.
Yeah.
Some of the topics we did have scheduled, we're probably not going to bother with. Sentinel, what have you been playing with this week? Sorry.
This week I've been playing quite a few different things. I did just finish Ghostwire Tokyo. I know I said I was playing that last week, but I actually finished it, and I got the achievement for gathering 100% of the spirits, which was like 240,000 of them. That was ridiculous. It took me forever. I had to use the little bracelet that you unlock at one of those shrines. Basically, you click the button and it sends the little, I guess, light beam where the closest spirits are. So I had to use that to help me find all the spirits because they're all over the place and there's so many of them. But Ghostwire Tokyo was really great. I also, as always, I'm playing just random games. I think I was playing Dragon Ball Fighter Z last night for a while. I was playing Tropico 6. I'm going to start that Star Wars Squadrons playthrough on Xbox because they have, on the Microsoft Rewards app, there's like 500 points for getting an achievement in Star Wars Squadrons, and I pre-ordered it and had it on my PlayStation. I'm playing it through Game Pass on Xbox, so I'm trying to get that achievement so I can get the 500 points. But I'll probably be doing that for, today and tomorrow, trying to get achievements in Star Wars Squadrons. So that's what I've been doing so far.
Cool. It's been a bit of a quiet one for me again this week. I'm not really in the gamey kind of mood at the moment, so I've literally just played Eastern Exorcist, which is quite a cool little 2D side-scrolling hack and slash game. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing. It's been a bit of a slow week again this week. So yeah, let's just dive straight into it, shall we?
Hey, did you ever finish Dead Island 2?
I did. Yeah, I did. I 1K'd it and then never went back to it.
Right. Cool. Yeah, because I haven't finished it yet. I've been meaning to go back to it, but it blew my mind, and you were actually the one that was talking about it. That I said, you know what, I'm going to try it out, and it's phenomenal. Dan Buster did such a great job.
When you consider the development hell that game suffered, all the studio handoffs and stuff, what they put out was incredible, and I think it improves on everything that the first game did, and then some.
Absolutely.
I think they did a great job.
That game is so high on my list. It was one of those things where I kind of at the time had to choose between Jedi Survivor and Dead Island 2, and I was so torn.
Yeah.
And I finished the main story of Jedi Survivor, and I've done a whole lot of the side content as well. I haven't done a New Game Plus yet because I'm trying to wrap up just a few more of the side things. But I don't regret Jedi Survivor at all, but I hated that I could not get Dead Island 2 at the same time because that game looks so fantastic.
Oh yeah, it honestly is brilliant. Like, it plays really well. The gore in it is horrendous, but like in a really satisfying way.
Yeah.
It's just a very, very fun game.
Yeah, my wife insisted that I buy Dead Island 2. She said, "Here, $70, here you go," because she loves zombie games. So
she's the keeper.
Yep, definitely.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so all right, let's talk about it because I think we need to talk about it. The PlayStation Showcase last night.
Oof.
Yeah, oof, big oof. Sentinel, you are our resident PlayStation fanboy, alongside BMG. What was your opinion of it?
Wow, I'm the resident PlayStation fanboy. Oh my god. Oh, such a prestigious title to have. Or not,
right.
You know. You know what?
Be ashamed.
As a gaming showcase, it wasn't bad because most of those games were multi-platform, right?
Yeah.
But as a PlayStation showcase, I mean, you have Final Fantasy 16, which everybody already knew about. You had Spider-Man 2, which everybody already knew about. So if people were already planning on buying those games, I mean, there wasn't anything shown new that would convince people that are on the fence really to buy those games. You know,
I understand, yeah.
And I have to say, it feels like PlayStation right now, with this showcase, kind of pulled an Xbox 2013.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
There you go, see? And what I mean by that is they had the chance, because they're riding on all this momentum like Xbox was at the end of the Xbox 360 generation, and they had a chance to knock it out of the park. And not only did they not knock it out of the park, but they fumbled it completely, so much so that a lot of these gaming sites are in complete denial, saying it's the greatest thing that they've ever seen, which is a bunch of bullshit. But you got big-time YouTube guys. One of them, I'm not going to really say his name. I don't want to give him any clout. But he's dressed up like, like Snake Eater. And he was crying his eyes out, and saying that he doesn't know what PlayStation needs to do because everything's basically gone to shit. And he was just, and for those of you that know him, he basically jumped from Xbox because he was a hardcore Xbox fanboy. When Crackdown 3 came out, he was doing the same thing with Xbox as he was doing with PlayStation yesterday. But a lot of these PlayStation fanboys are now, they're in full damage control mode. They don't know what to do. Some of them have probably called in from work. They're probably crying their eyes out. And I completely get it because they hadn't had a show in, 2 years? It was a long time. There's no excuse for this shit. You have Peacock, which is NBC basically. They're putting out an exclusive Twisted Metal TV series with Hollywood-level talent. You're talking Anthony Mackie from the Marvel movies. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He's Falcon. That's him. And it's like they pulled him to be the lead in the Twisted Metal television show. But not only did they not announce a Twisted Metal reboot that could tie in with that, like they did with the PS5 remake of The Last of Us with the television show, but they didn't even talk about the television show starring Anthony Mackie. It was completely not existent at this show. And the show was on May 24th. That Peacock TV series comes out next month. So it's like, if you're not going to talk about this at the PlayStation Showcase, when are you going to talk about this at? Yeah. And it's like I said, from a games perspective, you had Metal Gear Solid and all these other solid third-party games that are coming out. Third-party games, multi-platform. But as a PlayStation Showcase, again, it was so disappointing because they had such a potential to really wow people, and they didn't. So kind of like how Xbox went first and then PlayStation went after and said, hey, you don't need the little PlayStation camera to make it work, and ours is $100 less, and let's show you how to share games. And the one guy hands the game to the other. It's like PlayStation is basically taking the place of Xbox back then, where they went first. And I know for a fact Phil Spencer is going to come out. I would be surprised if he's not running out there and sliding on his knees and going, we're going to finally kick their fucking ass. It only took us 10 years, But PlayStation dropped the ball, and Xbox, I think, is definitely going to, they're going to grab the ball and run with it. And the Xbox
You'd
show
hope
that we,
so, wouldn't you? But to be fair, Xbox is quite good at missing easy layups. So.
But think about it like this. We already know about Forza Motorsport. Forza Motorsport is undoubtedly the greatest racing game there is. GT doesn't even hold a candle to it. And I understand some PlayStation gamers are, and it's like, play Forza Motorsport, and you're going to see that while you love GT, Forza is better. We have Starfield, and Starfield is so significant. How many people who play Xbox are really concerned with Spider-Man 2? Does it look like a great game? Yes. But there are many more PlayStation gamers that are crying over Starfield not coming to their system than Xbox gamers crying about Spider-Man 2. I mean, it's like a 10-to-1 ratio. It's crazy. So there, at a minimum, we're getting Forza and we're getting Starfield this year. But they're getting another Final Fantasy, and they're getting Spider-Man 2. And Spider-Man 2, I don't think it's the system seller that Spider-Man 1 was. Not saying it's not going to be a bad game, but it's more of the same for a lot of people. You know,
Yeah.
that's just
I
my
mean,
take on it.
I've said it on the show before, but like Spider-Man, I played it. Yeah, it was a good game. You know, was it the game that everybody claims it is on Twitter? Absolutely not. As an open world game goes, it was okay. It wasn't genre defining.
Yeah.
It wasn't amazing. But here's the problem, right? You could put Spider-Man in a fucking kart racer and people will say that's game of the year.
Yeah.
Because it's Spider-Man. It's Marvel's poster boy. That's my issue with Spider-Man. Like, I mean, he's gonna get people backing it regardless of what the game is. And I thought, Spider-Man, the first one was a good game. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't this system selling, masterpiece that everybody claimed that it was. And that's just my opinion on it. And Spider-Man 2 is looking to be the same.
And, it's like, I know everyone says Insomniac is the MVP of Sony, and that's right. I think they're the MVP of PlayStation. But they didn't even show off anything from Wolverine. Nothing. It was disappointing. It was just disappointing.
Yeah. Charlie, what was your take on it?
Much the same. I said this last night on Spooky's show. It's not that it was a bad showcase. It was just underwhelming. And that's the word that I would use for it. There was nothing there. We all knew what to expect, I feel like, with Spider-Man 2. It would have been nice to see maybe a huge graphical leap or some crazy new mechanic. I mean, I thought the hot swapping that it appears you can do between like Peter and Miles in that one instance, I thought that was kind of neat. But Steve pointed out that Insomniac is kind of the MVP, and I think it's because they're reliable. You know exactly what you're going to get here, and that's kind of what we're getting with Spider-Man 2. So I don't think it looked terrible. It just looked like more of what we've already had, and I've seen a few people dispute that, but to me it just kind of seemed like more of what we've already had, and so that's not a bad thing. But kind of like Sarge said, it's really just, is that a system seller, so to speak? Sure, there will be people that go out and buy a PS5 that haven't yet, and they'll pick up Spider-Man 2, but is that going to be the thing that really moves the needle even more so? Right now we know Sony's not having trouble selling systems at all. They're doing gangbusters, But overall, the showcase, again, it wasn't that there weren't a few cool games to see. It's just that a lot of those games are also going to be on other platforms. And as a Sony showcase, as he said a moment ago, it wasn't that impressive. There was so much hype. I was told that everybody was going to go sell their Xbox the day after. Folks were going to just decide to go Sony 100% after this. Another, I would say, prominent, he fancies himself an insider, but he's really not. He stated there was going to be something that was just going to blow everybody's mind, and that Xbox wouldn't be able to recover once Sony showed this, and none of that came to pass. So again, not a bad, if that had been a state of play, it would have been decent. But for a showcase, one that hasn't happened in 2 years, it was just unimpressive. There just wasn't really anything about it that was like, oh, I've got to go out and go turn on my PS5 right now. Or if I don't have one, I've got to go out and buy it. I just didn't see anything that really moved the needle in that way. Again, there were a few cool things. Marathon looks kind of interesting, but again, multi-plat. They didn't have near as much of the PSVR 2 stuff as I thought they might show. Maybe get some new big games for that. But other than the announcement for Resident Evil 4, there just wasn't really anything that was like, oh, wow, I got to go out and buy that. So, again, not terrible, just not great. Just kind of very middle of the road. And, I agree with you. You mentioned earlier, Xbox, with what they've got coming, probably doesn't have to have just like this knockout, lights out show that everybody thought they would have to have. But as you said,
I agree.
Never underestimate their ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Winning when you have an easy layup is not necessarily Xbox's forte the past few years. So I really think the Xbox showcase is probably going to be pretty good and make a lot of folks happy. But it's wait and see. And that was the same approach I took with this one. Everybody was hyping it. Everybody was like, even a bunch of Xbox guys were like, oh, after this showcase tomorrow, I just don't know what Xbox will be able to do. And none of that came to pass. I don't think that the general consensus, except for a few of the mainstream media gaming sites. Nobody's calling this a great
Oh,
showcase.
the damage control today has been absolutely hilarious.
It's not a surprise, but it's still always funny when you see it.
I want to
Yeah.
point something else out is that before PlayStation even announced their showcase, Xbox released Redfall. They were getting dragged for it. So Phil Spencer knew even before this Xbox show, or even before the PlayStation showcase, excuse me, that they were going to have to really bring some heat to this Xbox showcase. So even before PlayStation dropped the ball, they were coming into this showcase knowing that they had to impress the hell out of people. Just to win back some of that the lost favor they had with gamers. And like Phil said, I mean, hey, it could be perfect. That doesn't mean we're going to beat them overnight or whatever. But they were already planning on making the showcase the best they possibly could, and now PlayStation drops the ball. So it's going to be an even worse situation than it would have been had PlayStation not had a showcase at all.
Yeah.
And something I thought about yesterday was Xbox. The big complaint, even among hardcore Xbox fans, has been this lack of first party, right? They have so much first party in the pipeline, whereas Sony just showed that they really don't have a lot anywhere near ready right now. Again, you're really just getting Spider-Man 2, and we're going to go ahead and count Final Fantasy 16 as Sony first party. I know people will argue that, but let's just all be honest. It pretty much is. So that's really all they've got for this year in that envelope. But Xbox has so much backloaded, for the future that really, if they can just come out and show us 4 or 5 fairly near future games in their first party lineup that look like they're going to be quality, they win. I mean, that's just my opinion, but if they can do that, you've got Forza, you've got Starfield, obviously, and that's going to even have its own showcase. But if you can throw out Hellblade 2 and then maybe just throw in, and I'm just using games, I'm not saying that these games are definitely coming out in the near future, but something like Avowed and Fable, if you could show some of those things and maybe even throw something that's an exclusive like a Stalker 2 in there in the near future, like in the next, I hate to use 12 months, but we all know how that went. But you get what I'm saying. If that's a near future type release, then I think they automatically win. And not all those games are going to be bad. We know what a disaster Redfall has been, but look, not all of those first-party games are going to be anything near as bad as Redfall, regardless.
And it's not just their own first party. You look at like Sniper Elite 5 that came day one to Game Pass, so they could be announcing more of those. So they could use those third-party, day one games coming to Game Pass. They could use their own lineup. They use third-party deals that they've made to completely strengthen their showcase, so it's going to be phenomenal. And on top of all that, it's not just Xbox though; it's Ubisoft and all these other companies showing these third-party games. It's like if you're not strong enough to stay on top of the water, you're going to sink. And I think the PlayStation Showcase has guaranteed that they're just going to sink, because you're going to see all these other stellar games, and then you're going to have the Xbox Showcase right up there. And everyone's going to say, oh, all these great games, and they're available on Xbox, and Xbox just had an amazing showcase. Well, that's what I'm going to buy them on, So it kind of feels like PlayStation should have given a memorable thing just to say, hey, you know what, you should buy it on PlayStation because look at us, but they didn't do that. So Xbox is going to do that, and I think that's going to drive a lot more people to buying those games or subscribing to Game Pass for the Xbox.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, like, the way I look at it, I mean, I said it earlier on a tweet, and I was being, a dick, but I said it when I said I thought last night's showcase was fantastic. I mean, I thought it was an absolute great showing for an Xbox fan. Like, honestly, like they come out and this is 18 months in the making, right? We haven't had a showcase from PlayStation in 18 months. You would think that they decided to jump first for whatever reason. Normally, Xbox jumps first and then PlayStation counters. They decided to jump the shark for whatever reason, and they come out on stage and they show off a fucking show full of multiplats. And I'll tell you what, man, whoever was on the Xbox Twitter last night, they were a fucking sniper and they were a savage. As soon as that showcase ended, it was like, boom, these 12 games that you've just seen on the PlayStation showcase come into Xbox too. Yeah. So, I mean, it was just an absolute gut punch, I think, from whoever was on Twitter last night. And
I love that little touch of pettiness. I apologize for interrupting, but it wasn't overtly petty, but it was just slightly petty. And that's the Xbox I think a lot of us want to see. Yeah. I think that's what a lot of us want to see.
Guys, by the way, they're coming to our platform too. And it was just an absolute devastating counter because the only thing they showed off was a movie trailer and Spider-Man. That's the only first-party game they showed off, which is just absolutely alarming because, you think PlayStation, you think first-party exclusives. I mean, they put out stellar fucking exclusives. And you think with an 18 gap between, the last showcase and this showcase, you'd think they'd have something ready. But also, all of those multi-plat games that they showed off last night that are also coming to Xbox, they would have paid for marketing rights to show it off at that showcase. So, all those games are not going to be shown off on the Xbox showcase, which means they've got 90 minutes to show off tons of other games that are not those 12 that they've already confirmed are coming to Xbox.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's I don't see how Xbox can drop the ball on this. I mean, I know they fucking missed the easiest layup, and I'm fucking hoping that they don't. But I don't see how they can lose this year with what happened last night.
With that tweet with Xbox being so quick to make that snapshot, as you said, that's Xbox 360 era type of attitude. We need that back. And
that's the kind of shit I want to see. I don't want to see Phil Spencer coming out and going, "Oh, well done, everyone. Yeah, lovely show."
Oh, I took so much heat for calling that out yesterday. Come out and
just take absolute shots at fucking PlayStation. That's the Xbox I want to see back.
Yeah. I take so much heat when I call it out that Phil shouldn't be doing that. And I get the other side of it. Oh, he's a real gamer, and I agree that he is. He's a super nice guy. I have no doubt that he's one of the nicest guys in big business. I have no doubt about that. But again, PlayStation's made it clear that this is a war, and that's how they view it. And in warfare, Steve could definitely take this one. But in warfare, it's like you can't always be the nice guy with your enemy. And I'm not talking about, exactly. Phil doesn't have to be a jerk, but that's a situation where you just don't have to say anything. That's
with everything that's happened in the last 18 months, for Phil Spencer to come out and go, "Oh, well done, PlayStation. What a great showcase." Even though you've just cost us our fucking merger with Activision.
$70 billion, right? And
I don't want to see him coming out and being the nice guy. I want to see him come out and start swinging that big money dick around like he does best. Do you know what I mean? I want to see him just fucking take shots because that's what they need. And to be fair, I'm angry at PlayStation as well for coming out and putting on such a shit showcase because you need them to be putting out first party exclusives because that drives Xbox to work harder and put out first party exclusives. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for PlayStation to have a shit show, I mean, really, it also harms Xbox guys as well as it does, make the fucking showcase look good for us last night. I know what I'm trying to say, but you know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree with it. It's just, I mean, that was a good example of what I think a lot of us want to see Xbox. Like I said, you don't have to be rude, petty, disrespectful, but, show some fire. Show some fire. This is a company that's really trying to put you under.
Yeah.
And again, even if you don't, I don't think he has to go out and be a rude and boorish jerk about everything, but show some fire. That little tweet was perfect. And you don't have to go out and congratulate them for everything that they do because they're not doing that for you. And yes, I try to live by the golden rule in my real life. But again, if somebody's literally messing with my money, American speak there, if somebody's messing with my coin in my bank, then I'm not going to come out there and be patting you on the back for everything you do. I'm sorry. It's just, that's just me. And I get a lot of heat when I call it out.
That's exactly right. Yep. I agree. I saw a tweet about Starfield. I don't think it was Xbox that did it, but someone did it. They said how to enjoy Starfield on PlayStation, and it had the YouTube thing. Xbox needs to be doing stuff like that. Whenever they come out with these, like Avowed. If you can't play it on PlayStation, say, hey, we have a great way for you to enjoy Avowed, even though you don't own an Xbox and have the YouTube thing up. Stuff like that. That's what Xbox needs to be doing after their show when they show these exclusives.
but they're also funny when they start doing that sort of shit as well. Do you know what I mean? It's so out
Yeah.
of character for them that when they do it, it's like, fair enough. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it grabs your attention.
Yeah.
Right, and those of us that have been around for a while, we remember that 360 era when they were kind of savage. And it's, again, you don't have to be brutal, but you can be kind of savage
You can like,
with just
make
a very,
fun of it.
right, with just a subtle, you know, kind of like what they did yesterday. It wasn't, I don't even think that their intent was to be petty, but releasing that right after that showcase ended was just a killer move. And I mean,
Yeah.
Xbox guys loved it and PlayStation guys hated it, because that's the type of stuff that Sony's done over the years, over the recent years, you know, with a little like, here's how you, you know, trade a game with PlayStation, and you got the guy handing the, you know, that kind of stuff is okay. That's called competition, and that's American advertising, American marketing. That's how you make yourself part of the mind share. Is people like chuckle at those things and they remember them, they stick in their head. It's like, oh, did you see that? That was funny. That was kind of petty. That was funny. You can do stuff like that, and it's okay. And I don't know how Xbox went from being the ultimate bro console and just kind of savage to being, oh, we're, you know, like the kid-friendly, family-friendly place where we're never going to say anything bad about the competition. It's like, no, that's how you get to be part of the mind share, is you infuse yourself and you make people remember what you do. And they've just been really bad at that the last few years. I don't know why.
But the funny thing is after that PlayStation showcase, what people are talking about is the fact that Xbox came out and said, you know, most of these games are coming out on our platform too. So it makes the entire showcase irrelevant because they've just taken that shot. And I want to see them take more shots like that.
You know, the biggest problem with PlayStation right now is you ever see those kids driving around in Ferraris and shit, and it's like it's their dad's money kind of thing, and you're like, you didn't earn that money, your dad did. So Jim Ryan, it's like, he's not riding on his success at PlayStation. He's riding on Sean Layden's success.
Yeah. And
I mean, that's it. Like, that's why he doesn't respect it, because he didn't have to work for it.
Yeah. Is this what the era of Jim Ryan's going to hold for PlayStation? Like,
hopefully not.
Yeah. I hope it doesn't stay like that, because honestly, you need that competition to drive innovation. You need them to be putting out first-party exclusives and system sellers, because Xbox will just do what PlayStation did. They'll just become complacent.
Because Xbox 360 created the PlayStation wave, because Xbox 360 was so fierce that PlayStation said, shit, we cannot miss. We have to get our act together. We have to push our studios to the highest quality they can produce. Look at what came out of that era, you know. You have God of War, you have Infamous, you had The Last of Us, you had Uncharted, but it set the tempo for all these studios to create Ghost of Tsushima and Death Stranding and all these other, basically that's their tempo that they wanted everybody to perform at. So the Xbox 360 was directly responsible for the PS3 becoming as strong as it was during the PS4 generation. And you're exactly right about the competition. If PlayStation 5 falters, Xbox doesn't really have a reason to push the envelope with how great their games are going to be. They can settle for mediocre because there's no real competition. But if PlayStation 5 is bringing the heat, Xbox has to also.
Exactly. And like, it's so frustrating to see them come out. I mean, it's like you were saying earlier, like watching that showcase last night. I mean, I watched it like after it actually went live. I ended up watching it into like the early hours, but watching it was like going back and watching the 2013 Xbox showcase where they revealed the Xbox One. It was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what the actual fuck are you doing? You could just see it all unfold, and it was just like, what are you fucking doing? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's never a good reaction for people to be having during a showcase like that.
Like, why are you putting a fucking movie trailer in there for a start? Like, why? I mean, I know it's Gran Turismo, but fuck, it's the biggest showcase you've had in 18 months. You've lined up all of these multiplats, and then you've shown off a movie trailer. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
I know.
Well, I think they know that they're hardcore. They have two things right now that Xbox doesn't have. They have hardcore fanboys, which is a small percentage, but a very vocal and, again, hardcore percentage that are going to love everything they do or say they do regardless. So they're going to praise it regardless. But then they also have the enormity of the casual market, which isn't even watching this showcase. And they're playing things that we can all play anywhere just about. So in a way, I think that some of that is complacency on their part, because when you look at the numbers, I mean, right now in some markets, they're beating Xbox 4-1 in the markets where they both exist. That's not every market, but it's a lot of them. And even in the North American market, Xbox isn't doing real well right now with like hardware sales. So in a way, I think that they're already complacent. Like you said, Jim Ryan, even though he's been there a little while, this isn't really all his baby. He's just overseeing it. And the shareholders at Sony are probably tickled to death right now, because when you're talking hardware and even software to some degree in a lot of markets, they're doing gangbusters business. But they're still, those of us that have been around and they've owned every PlayStation, they're still, it's like there's something missing right now. It's like there's I can't really, it's hard to articulate it and put it into words, but it's like there's something that's just not quite there that's been in past PlayStation generations. I don't know if that makes any sense right now, but you watch a showcase like that, and you see kind of what their first party lineup is right now, and you're kind of like, they're selling like crazy. They've got the huge part of the public mind share, but I just don't feel like this is a normal, really healthy PlayStation generation. And maybe that's just my perception and I'm crazy, but
no, absolutely not. I feel like the focus has totally shifted. At PS4, they were all about putting out single player, experiences. You got Uncharted, fucking The Last of Us, God of War, Spider-Man. They were focused on putting out these stellar first party exclusives. And now that we've shifted to PS5, it's like, well, they're not really doing much, and then the shit they do show off is like, oh great, this is games as a service, fantastic.
Right. Well, it's like they're doing safe things, and people may argue that, but it's like the device that they put out. We have already 3 or 4 of those devices that have come out compatible with other platforms. Cloud only. There will be guys that buy that and cap for it and talk about how great it is, but we've seen that already. That's just to me, that's another like a Me Too type device. The earbuds, that's great, and they're probably.
I don't understand why the fuck the Project Q was ever invented.
Right.
I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I can already do this shit with my mobile phone and an adapter for 40 quid. Why are you like showing off something
it's got DualSense handles. It's got DualSense. So you see what I'm saying? They're doing things, but there's no real innovation there.
I feel like they've just taken a really simple solution and they've tried to slap a massive premium price tag on it. Yeah, and it's like, fucking why? There's literally no need for it.
It's for the rich crowd.
Cloud support. I'd much rather take that.
It's for the rich crowd.
What would have blown people away yesterday is for them to release another Sony handheld that they would actually support that would probably play at like PS4 level.
Yeah.
If they could sell something like that at $299 or $399, that would have probably made people
a PS Vita 2. PS Vita 2. People would have loved that.
And it's not like they're not selling either. I mean, look at all the hype surrounding the Asus, ROG, and you got the Steam Deck, you got the Switch. There is a market for handheld devices. So I don't understand why they've decided to release
portable handheld devices.
Yeah.
Portable.
Like, why not just make a PS Vita 2, give it full cloud support, turn it into like a proper fucking, Steam Deck competitor.
Yes.
As opposed to giving me something that I can already do with $50 and my smartphone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, it's weird, man. They made some fucking really weird decisions on last night's show.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. You want to see them do well. I mean, even as an Xbox, I'm primarily an Xbox guy these days, but I want to see PlayStation do well because, like I said, it drives innovation. It drives that creativity.
Yeah, it's great when they're all healthy and doing fantastically. And that's why I've never understood the total fanboy mindset. It's like, okay, if Xbox goes away and you only have Sony to choose from, are you not going to get kind of bored with that? And it's really the same for Xbox. It's like these companies pushing each other and innovating and bringing out new styles of not just hardware, but new styles of games, new game experiences. That's what makes gaming awesome.
Unfortunately, you got to think a lot of these guys are doing it for their own YouTube channels, their own, Twitch streams. And unfortunately, being a fanboy gets you views, and being an unbiased gamer gets you nothing. I mean, that is the sad facts of it. Hello.
Yeah, we're here. I mean,
Oh, okay.
No, you were making some great points. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it just spoke for itself. I mean, it's just that's what gets you the views and the clicks, but it's just a weird mentality to have. And this, I've always said this mentality of like, well, I can only have one. Now, if it's a financial situation, sure. For that young kid whose mom can only get him an Xbox Series S or a PlayStation 5 digital, I get it. That's okay. But if you have the means, I just never have understood limiting yourself. And, if it's your business and you're doing it to make money, like you said, yeah, you're going to make more money by hating on Xbox than you are, trying to be that broad appeal gamer. And we've seen that. I mean, a lot of people we know that do this and try to make money off of it. It's hard when you're like you almost have to be a fanboy and a psychopath to get a lot of views and clicks. And that's a shame, but it's still a weird mentality. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
No, I'll never understand it. It's, I don't see how you can honestly come out and go on Twitter and say, oh yeah, that showcase was, fantastic. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect. Nothing wrong with it.
It just feels like they're
in PlayStation.
they're consoling those huge PlayStation channels that are crying right now. They're like, it's okay. It was great.
You got people crying out for a second showcase. Like, for fuck's sake.
What are they going to show?
Hey, you guys will be good. You'll get your second showcase in like 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do they have to show that they wouldn't have shown yesterday? Now, I do think that it's possible that they held a couple of things back for like the Summer Games Fest. And maybe they'll go more in depth with some other things. But again...
Yeah, a video of Jeff Keighley putting his lips to Jim Ryan's ass cheeks. That's about all they got.
Yeah.
Right. But again, I mean, what are they going to show? People clamoring for another showcase. What are they going to show?
They could show the Factions thing. The Factions thing from Naughty Dog. It was supposed to come out in 2020, and it's nowhere to be found.
I don't think it's anywhere close to coming out.
How could it not? It was supposed to release 3 years ago. 3 years ago.
I think they would have shown it. I think if it was coming, they would be talking about it.
Yeah. Well, and it's stuff like that makes me look at all those people that say, "Oh, Naughty Dog is the GOAT," and I'm like, "No, the fuck, they're not. If they're 3 years late on releasing a multiplayer component of a game that came out last generation, they're not the greatest. You guys need to chill out because they suck. If that's the case."
But their quality is always top tier. Though that's the difference. Right. Yeah, okay.
As long as it's not PC ports, I guess their quality is top tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's set the bar so low for Xbox. If they miss this, I hope they fucking do pull out of the console space. Honestly, because I mean, you got to think, right? They've got 90 minutes to fill. They're not going to show off any of the games that PlayStation have just shown off. So there's 12 games they don't need to worry about. Starfield has its own fucking, show after the Xbox showcase. So that's 90 minutes of, we could get Fable gameplay. We could get Avowed gameplay. We could literally get fucking anything. If they come out and just, if it's 90 minutes of fucking CGI trailers for games that are coming 8 years away.
I think Hellblade is ready.
The ball. You reckon we'll get it this year?
Yeah, I think Hellblade 2 is ready. I think it is, and I think that's going to be a surprise. A huge part of the showcase because they want to say, "Hey,
stealth drops."
Yeah, I mean the shadow drop though, because they didn't they shadow drop Quake 64, the original Quake, whatever it was.
Yeah, they shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush, and that's the thing. They shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush at a developer direct.
Yeah,
and it came out to a fucking stellar Metacritic. Everybody loved it. I want to see more of that shit.
The haters said that wasn't an Xbox win. That was a Bethesda win.
Oh, fuck off. Bethesda.
That was an Xbox win because Xbox knew if they put that game out beforehand and sent out review codes, that game would have been maybe not ripped apart, but you would have seen a lot of like 70s and 71s. And because they dropped it, and people were actually going out and playing it and saying, "Hey, man, this," that's what's funny is I looked at that game and I was like, "That is not my type of game." And I gave it like 30 or 45 minutes, and I absolutely adore that game.
Yeah.
And I think it got the positive feedback it got because they did shadow drop it, and nobody knew that was coming. And it was a brilliant move by them. And so I think maybe that's what they're going to have to do for a few of their games.
Yeah,
and I'm all for it. I mean, even if it's like some stealth drops in the Game Pass that nobody knows about, I'm all for that as well. I mean, it's just, I mean, if they come out next month and just fuck it up. I'm done with Xbox. Honestly, I don't see how they could fuck it up. But then
You know what though? I don't see that
same with
happening.
the missing easy layups.
I don't see that happening because I mean, look, Phil Spencer's a gamer, and that's the thing I keep going back to. You know, he actually plays video games. He partakes in what he's selling to customers. You know,
Yeah.
So he knows that he wants gamers to have fun experiences, and I think that's why it's still important to have faith that the showcase is going to be stellar.
I'll tell you what, man. Could you imagine if Xbox comes out and like not right at the end, but like close to the end, Phil Spencer hits the stage, pulls his big money dick out, starts swinging it around, and says, "By the way, Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming to Xbox, and we have exclusive content."
Oh my god!
Fucking oof!
They could do it though.
They could do it. They got the money to do it. I mean, they could be like, well, you know, do we pay the $2 billion to, you know, do we pay the $2 billion to buy out of this Activision deal, or do we just throw down $2 million to Take-Two and say, look, give us the marketing rights?
Yeah, I mean they could do that legitimately because Strauss Zelnick is in a very he seems very he seems like he has a really good relationship with Microsoft and with Xbox.
About them buying Activision as well, and he's been very supportive.
Yeah, so you already know that he's going to be positive towards Xbox, and if they say, "Hey, marketing rights for Grand Theft Auto 6," they'd be like, "Yeah, sounds good," because they know that Microsoft is backing them.
Yeah,
that's all it would take.
I think Xbox needs to be doing things like that regardless of the Activision deal. Even if they think it's going to pass, that's what I feel like maybe we lost in 2022. And, you know, I said it even back in early 2022 when they first announced the delays for Starfield and Redfall. I said, this is not going to be good. And you're not going to see the effects of it until like Q1 2023. But this is going to be a bad year for Xbox because you've not given people a reason. The fact that you didn't have any sort of big Game Pass games on tap, you haven't given your mainstream audience a reason to go out there and buy a console. Yeah, and you know, everybody wanted to say, "Oh, console sales don't matter. This doesn't matter," but there just weren't any of those really big, heavy hitters in Game Pass, and a couple other things got delayed, like Warhammer and things like that. So you lost out on a lot in 2022. But they need to, even though they've got some of these first-party games that are going to start hitting from here on out, they still need to be taking those big steps and getting people unexpected things. Where you look at that and you say, man, that ecosystem is one that I need to be in. You know, I need to have Game Pass.
The internet would fucking implode if they come out and says, oh, by the way, marketing rights for GTA, and boom, we get GTA Online a month early.
Oh, Jesus. Yep. That would be nice.
And think about what a seismic thing that would be. I mean, you would have some of the other side's fanboys absolutely raging. But think of what, again, a mind share type of event that would be. And that's the type of thing that they need to go out there and do. And you know, we did discuss that last night, but I don't know why they're not doing more of that. Maybe it's because their game plan really just involves them. But those are the types of things. It's like you've got a few $1 million that you can spare to go out there and do something like that. So go out there and do it. And you don't have to do that every quarter. You don't have to even do that every year. You know, once we get this pipeline of these 23 studios, then you really don't have to do as much of that. But right now, where you're at right now, go out and do a couple of those seismic type of things.
It would be worth it. I mean, just for the internet's reaction alone, I think it would be worth it.
I think they should do that with Electronic Arts too, because Electronic Arts is already really cozy with Xbox. You know, almost all of their games are already on Game Pass. Game Pass Ultimate. Do
you reckon we'll see EA FC, or whatever it's called, EA Football FC unveiled at the Xbox Showcase?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
It is coming, isn't it? They haven't shown it off yet. I think they'll use Xbox's platform to show off that game for the first time.
Yeah, they could definitely do that because, like I said, they're cozy with them, so they have a good relationship with them. You know,
the Xbox
and where they're at in the UK right now, that would probably be a smart thing to do. Where Xbox is sitting, Xbox should have approached them and said, "Hey, if you're ready to announce at our show. We'll give you this many minutes to do it." You know, so
yeah,
it's crazy. But I want to see Xbox make those moves. I mean, fuck, even if this Activision deal does get, you know, terminated or falls through or whatever, even if Xbox like aggressively starts pursuing Call of Duty again, I'd be all for that. You know, if they got the marketing rights, content comes to Xbox first, like it was back in the 360 days. I would like to see them go down that road. They need to start. I mean, they're a $2 trillion company. You know, they're generating what, 200 billion a year. I want to see them fucking throw down that money on securing good shit for the Xbox brand and not letting fucking Sony take everything.
Yeah, exactly. You know, marketing is a big part of that. And I think, you know, Xbox on Twitter is fire, you know, and we've seen them with great posts, but it's like outside of Twitter, they need to be having that same type of energy, and that comes with all these marketing rights that they need to secure for these big games that are coming up.
Yeah. I don't care what anyone says. PlayStation, Xbox. I mean, with all the games that are coming, let's be real. The biggest fucking game that's coming out in the next few years is GTA 6. That's what everybody's talking about. That's what everybody wants to see. Now's the fucking time to throw down a lot of money and secure something for Xbox with that game.
Yes, I agree 100%. That's a gold mine.
I don't think they'll do it, but they absolutely need to do it.
Yes.
Regardless of cost. I mean, obviously, unless it's like just ridiculous. And it's going to be a lot. Yeah. But I mean, if anybody has the money, it's them, and go out there and do it. Go out there and do it.
I remember when GTA 5 came out, it sold $1 billion. It was like they made $1 billion profit in the first the first week of that game launching. There's no reason why Xbox can't go, you know what, it's $2 billion. Let's make it happen. Bring that shit to Xbox. And they'll recoup that money in fucking, you know, in what, a week or in 2 weeks.
And like you said, if you get an early release on Xbox, and that's where people have their games stored, and they've, you know, made progress in that game for that first week, that's where they're going to continue to play it, and they're going to have it on your platform. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing they need to do. That's the kind of way they need to start looking at it. And I think that's why people got upset with Phil's comments in that interview a couple of weeks ago, because it's like, again, in context, I know what he was saying, and what he was saying is not factually incorrect, but it gave people the feeling it's like, so you're not even going to try because you're third place. You're just saying you're not trying. And I know that that's not really what he was saying, but that's people's perception of it. And when you go out and you make deals and you secure things, and that's my thing. You guys have too much money to be acting like this. That's my biggest thing.
That's the thing. Like, I mean, Microsoft literally makes more money in a year than like twice of PlayStation's net worth, and yet they let them just take everything. Like, just throw some fucking money down, secure these, you know, even if it's just timed exclusives, just secure these fucking deals so that Xbox gamers get to eat good. Fucking, I mean, they've got more than enough money to turn this around overnight. That's what's frustrating about it. You
know what? I think a lot of PlayStation gamers, I mean, I kind of feel like they're ignoring the fact that if there weren't laws within Japan in place to prevent it, Xbox and Microsoft could just buy PlayStation outright. You know, they have enough money where they could buy them.
That's what's fucking hilarious. This Activision deal is nearly worth the same value as PlayStation.
Yes.
It's crazy.
I know. And you know what? It's like I really hope that Xbox knocks it out of the park, because it's gonna be great for Xbox gamers, and a whole bunch of these PlayStation gamers, they're gonna go into full meltdown. And I kind of feel like a lot of these big PlayStation gamers are gonna be bitching so much that their fan base is just going to be like, yo, man, I just got to take a break from you guys. Let's check out the Xbox guys for a while. That's what it feels like, because you got like MBG, like I said, he was like, someone shot his dog yesterday, and I was like, Jesus, this guy is like having an emotional meltdown. I'm surprised he's not crying on camera, you know? And it's like people don't want to hear that type of shit. They want to hear, oh, let's go, and we're hyped, and da-da-da. So when you have big-time PlayStation guys like him and Dreamcast guy and the other guys, whenever they're just going into full meltdown mode, people are going to be like, you know what, I just don't want to listen to these guys anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I know I talk a lot of shit. I've got some really like bizarre opinions and stuff, but it's all in good fun. I don't think seriously. I like saying dumb shit to get people's reactions. You know what I mean? Like,
well, sometimes you have to. Yeah, sometimes you have to.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a weird one, man. Like, last night's showcase was just fucking bizarre, just absolutely bizarre. It's just, like I said earlier, I haven't like had that sort of feeling for a showcase since Xbox's 2013 showcase. It was just absolutely bizarre.
But I have articles saying that it was a great showcase and maybe one of their best ever.
Oh, it was perfect. PlayStation did so well for Xbox.
Yeah. Just underwhelming again. It was just underwhelming. I mean, with all the hype and what you would expect after 2 years, and especially with them coasting like they are right now, you would have thought that it would have just, I was even thinking, man, there's probably going to be a couple things here that are just big, like big deals, and there just wasn't. And again, that's not saying it was just total trash, but it just wasn't. There wasn't anything there that was just spectacular.
Yeah, after 18 months, sorry, you'd expect them to come out and just like be fucking right. Here's all the shit we've been working on for the last 18 months. Soak this shit up. It was just nothing. Just absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And you know what? I know some people are going to say, well, you got Xbox studios that haven't announced anything yet. And it's like, that's what the showcase is for.
Yeah.
Because I can see, because it feels like whenever Coalition is ready to announce something, it's announced. They don't sit on it for 3, 4, 5, 6 years if it's ready to announce. And Coalition, I think, in my opinion, and I know people are going to be pissed about this, but I think Coalition is a better development studio than Naughty Dog.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, legitimately, because you look at how amazing their games are, and you don't really hear a lot about glitches in Gears of War games. But you
got to think that not the Coalition is purely Gears. I mean that's what they do. They put out Gears.
Well, yeah, and we've
Naughty
had discussions.
Uncharted, fucking The Last of Us. I mean, Naughty Dog put out some stellar games.
But essentially, Uncharted and The Last of Us are very similar in how they're structured.
Yeah.
The combat is extremely similar. The Last of Us is more grounded, obviously, but they're basically what I call almost like hallway combat, where it's from point A to point B you're going to encounter. But like you look at Gears, Gears 5 that really opened it up. It's huge open world areas. Yes, some of them are a little sparse, but they have the ability to do that, and I haven't really seen that level of versatility with Naughty Dog yet. I just haven't seen it.
Let's see what they can do without Gears. That's what I want to see the Coalition do next. I don't want to see them put out another fucking Gears of War. I want to see them given free reign to put out something that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, and I'm not
from 343 as well. I mean, stop giving them fucking Halo. They dropped the ball on it fucking 3 times. Is it 2 or 3 times?
Yeah.
Give them something else. Let them work on that for like a decade. Put Halo on the fucking shelf. Let them show off their talent. Let them fucking show us what they can do and not what's expected of them.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I want to see with the Coalition too. I want to see them like just have a fucking chance at something else.
Like the Punisher or Dread.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same. It's not just
awesome.
Can you
Coalition either? Like Infinity Wars. Stop making Call of Duties for a bit. Start making something else. You don't even have to have. I mean, you could even put from the creators of Call of Duty. Boosh, new IP. Fucking let them have free reign. Give them.
It's so hard to walk away from what's safe and almost guaranteed. Do you know what I mean? It's just so hard.
Yeah.
I think even when they want to, it's so hard to move away from what's been safe and assured, And so on one hand, I get it. But on the other hand, I think it's stagnating gaming in some ways because they just won't move away from what's sort of, essentially gaming comfort food. It's like, well, we might get some criticisms about the game, but we're still going to sell 30 million of them. You know what I mean? It's just hard to move away from that.
But I really wish they would just let them try something different. Like, let them try something different. I mean, even fucking Turn 10. What was the last Forza? When was the last Forza Motorsport? 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Even they've had a chance to rebuild it from the ground up.
Yeah.
Like, just let them do something different.
And they're letting part of Playground Games at least try with the Fable thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's something else, right? Even if I really hope Xbox comes out and shows off Fable. I don't even care if it's even if it's just another fucking, if it's just like a camera, like a panoramic view of the new area you're in, or just some screenshots or concept art. I'll take that. I don't want to have another Xbox showcase where they don't show off Fable. That shit was shown off 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They need to show off something now.
After what happened with Redfall, if I'm Phil, I'm going to these studios and I'm saying, okay, guys, when do you think this is coming out? And if they say, well, we should get it out late 2024, I would be like, okay, then you put me a video package together for this showcase, and I want it in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what he's got to do. I think Phil learned from what happened with Redfall. I'm hoping that he did. And that's why I have a lot of hopes for this showcase, because I think they learned something. Even before all of it came out, you know, like you did actually mention earlier, they knew that Redfall was a disaster probably a good while before it actually released. And I'm hoping that changed the way that they handle some things with these studios, because it's okay to give somebody freedom and to say, like, well, we don't want to be micromanagers. But at the same time, it's like anything you put out now reflects on Xbox.
It was so bad. Redfall was so bad that even Colt Eastwood put out videos saying, hey, you know what? Redfall has a lot of problems. When even he puts out videos saying, hey, this game has a lot of problems, you know that game, you know, it's gone through a lot of developmental issues behind the scenes.
Yeah. But, like, here's the thing. Everybody's dragging Redfall. I mean, great. I mean, granted, it didn't release in the best state. Should have been delayed. Definitely needs to be 60 FPS. But this is the same studio that bought you Deathloop. It's the same studio that bought you all the Dishonored games. They have the capacity to put out fucking bangers. This is just an anomaly. And you gotta remember, right? These consoles launched at the start of a pandemic. Everybody's working from home. Everybody's fucking now starting to go back to the studios and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, there are going to be a few games that are rough around the edges. And you got to remember they were bought during the pandemic as well. I mean, you need to give them some fucking credit. They do put out stellar games. Redfall was just an anomaly. You
know what? To Redfall's credit, and I at like the first hour to hour and a half of the game, it drags, it's slow, it sucks. But after you get that first fire station and you really start getting the momentum going, you see how there's good, like they say, good bones, you know, to a game. You see how there's good stuff in the game, and it offers an interesting experience. And it's just like, it kind of feels like they needed to rework the beginning, and if they would have done that to really pull people in better than it did, in my opinion, Redfall would have scored better with a lot of people. It was just that first section kind of sucked, you know.
But here's the fucking problem, man. First impressions are everything. Nobody's gonna go back to it. Nobody will go back to it. It doesn't matter now if they do the 60 FPS patch.
Yeah.
People have had their first impressions. They go, fuck this. It's not for me. I'm off to play something else. And I mean, they've essentially killed their own game. They could have delayed it till fucking, you know, Christmas.
Remember Sea of Thieves, though. Sea of Thieves started, it was very bare bones. A lot of people said that. But Rare stuck with it. Xbox stuck with it. They kept plugging it. They kept pushing it.
There was something really charming about Sea of Thieves. That's the difference.
And I'm telling you, there is with Redfall, but it's just, they have to figure out how they can fix that issue. I think it's fixable.
Possible. I disagree there, and it's not a disrespectful disagreement.
Yeah, that's cool.
I feel like we're in a hypercritical.
Yes,
definitely. Twitter has made it worse. Social media has made it worse. But, you know, again, first impressions are everything now in gaming. And I'm not saying that it can't rebound, but I think the chances are so slim. And I think it's a game. First of all, I think it's important to remember that not every game is going to hit. It doesn't matter what studio it comes from. Sometimes something sounds great on paper and in the conceptual phase and up on the board in the meeting room, but it's just hard to execute it, you know, and there are still technological limitations and everything. And I think that's maybe one of the things that happens.
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, I know you mentioned Sea of Thieves, don't know, but Sea of Thieves was like, there was something really charming about it. I mean, you had to work as a team to pilot the boat. And in Redfall, it doesn't really matter if you don't play co-op.
Yeah, like, I beat it single player. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I get it. They got a lot of work to do, and I don't...
No worries, Praxis. Hopefully we'll still be going by the time you get out. Hope everything's going well, buddy. Hope you get better soon and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah...
It would be cool if it could. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure that game really has any more legs to it. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it will be. I think that's it now. I think Redfall's done. I just don't see how it can come back from that disastrous launch. I should have launched it in the fall.
Around Halloween would have been perfect.
Exactly. I get that they don't really want to release it next to fucking Starfield and Forza, but for fuck's sake, you killed that game by putting it out early.
Yeah. Well, it was just a miss at a time when a miss was a really bad thing to have. That was the biggest thing. It was such a disaster, not necessarily because the game is just unplayable, because I know a lot of folks that have put a lot of time into it and they've had fun with it. Spooky absolutely loves the game. He's played a lot of co-op and he loves it, but it was just, again, I think the biggest problem with it was a miss when a miss was the last thing in the world that they could afford to have. Because of their first party situation. And the pandemic definitely played a part in a lot of this. And I think now we're even kind of seeing that with Sony. We've been talking about the showcase for an hour. I think we're really seeing some pandemic stuff hit Sony now with not a lot of first party. It's just that they've been able to get away with it because of some strategic delays and other things they've had with things like Ragnarok and everything else. But I think that maybe some of that is kind of starting to hit them on the very back end of it. And sure, next year will probably be a lot better for both companies. But, it's definitely a factor. And I just feel like Redfall launched at the wrong time, and it just wasn't quite done baking, and it had some built-in problems that a delay probably wouldn't have helped with. So
I'll tell you
just
what,
my
man,
opinion.
if I was Phil Spencer and everyone at Xbox, I would be counting my fucking chickens, because everybody was like, well, Redfall was such a disaster, all hope lies on Starfield, and then boom, PlayStation go and have that announced that showcase yesterday. I bet they're like, fucking yes, we have a moment of fucking to just breathe a little bit. I bet they're like counting their fucking chickens.
Well, not only that, but a lot of people, even some really major name as far as like the Twitter and YouTube community, even some Xbox guys are like, I'm really worried about Starfield. I'm really worried about how that's going to turn out. And it might be bad, but I'm sitting here thinking, but what if it's really good? What if it actually turns out to be one of Bethesda's best, most polished games at launch ever? What if it turns out to be really, really good? And that's
60 FPS and not patched.
I mean, what if it really does kind of live up to the hype? Now, there's always going to be detractors and haters, but what if this game ends up kind of living up to the hype? I mean, that's a possibility that you have to consider too. So, I really hope that happens. But what if it turns out to really be that game?
You know what's funny though, right? Is like, remember how many bugs and glitches Fallout 4 had at launch, but people still loved it because of that open world Bethesda experience.
That was a rough game. Yeah,
it was, but it was the experience that it offered, and people were like, "Well, I don't mind too much because of the adventure and the excitement and the storyline and everything else." So I'm kind of hoping that even if Starfield does have issues at launch, that it's enough of a high quality product that people say, well, it has its problems, but it's such an amazing story, and the space combat is great, and all that shit.
But here's the thing, man. I mean, we've spoken about this before. Like, when it comes to Bethesda games, especially games like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and they always release in a broken and buggy state. Yeah. But they always go on to become Game of the Year contenders. It's just you wouldn't have a Bethesda game without there being shitloads of bugs. So I'm not expecting anything different from Starfield. I mean, all I want from Starfield is that it's fucking 60 frames a second. That's all I want. Just give me 60 frames a second. I don't think it's going to be, by the way. I mean, I think it's going to be 30. But just give me 60 frames a second, and I'll be fucking happy.
See, you're letting yourself get infected with the negativity. Don't do it. Don't do it until we see it.
Unfortunately, I have like ever since this generation started, I have become a frame rate whore. I don't want to see 30 FPS games again. I think it's a standard that we came to accept. That we started accepting last generation. And I don't think we should be. Oh well, it's 30 FPS. It's not the end of the world. No, 60 FPS is the fucking gold standard. Make it happen. Make it fucking happen.
I completely agree.
Well, I think that would be a big, if they could do it at 60 and they come out at the showcase and announce that it will be 60, I think there, that's a huge green check mark automatically.
I think the only way they're going to get 60 frames per second is if they lock Todd Howard in a closet for the remainder of the development. That's it.
I agree, Paul. I think it's going to be 30, but I really want it to be 60.
Yeah, Luke Steele saying, 30 frames per second on consoles. Just so you know, Luke Steele has like a super stellar computer that can do like 240 frames per second at like 8K, so I completely get it.
I am blind as fuck, but I can tell the difference between 30 and 60 frames a second. And I'm blind as fuck, and if I can see it, fucking everybody should be able to see it.
You take off your glasses and it's 720p, but you put them on and it's 8K. Yeah.
I take off my glasses, it's like fucking 3020p, and that's
Jesus.
from sitting a foot away.
Yep.
But yeah, I just want to see it. I just want to see Starfield do well. I mean, and at the end of the day, fucking No Man's Sky does 60 frames a second, and this is basically No Man's Skyrim. So,
well, and if it's doing 30 frames per second, at least is it locked? Because in combat, if it's 30 frames per second but it's not locked, you're gonna see 5 to 10 frames per second. It's gonna be rough.
Yeah. It's gonna be like, oh my god, not again.
Yep.
Not Fallout 4 again.
Oh Jesus. Yep, that one's rough.
They've had a long time to work on this. Hold out hope that there won't be as many of the typical Bethesda issues. Let's hold out hope.
You fucking delayed it so much. Why is it still 30 frames a second?
Yeah, you see,
I think that's why Redfall got that heat, because it was delayed almost a year and it was still in a terrible state with 30 frames at launch. And it's like, really, guys? And I think that's where a lot of the negativity towards Starfield started really popping up, because it's like, okay, so what kind of shape is Starfield in?
Don't worry, though. If Starfield launches in a broke state, at least the modding community, who obviously knows more than Bethesda, will be able to fix it in like 20 minutes.
I bet they will as well. That's the funny thing. We'll get fucking Starfield London, and then like we'll be like a perfect mod. And then they'll start hiring all these people with Fallout London crew.
Like with Fallout 76, yeah. I know. That was horrible. It's like, if you're not hiring these people, at least pay them for the work they did.
I'll tell you what, though, fucking fair play to Bethesda, because you get a lot of these mod communities where they do go in and they do make the games a lot better. They do make the visuals better, and it's not like fucking Rockstar. We're like, nope, cease and desist. Fucking Bethesda were like, you know what? Come work for us. Make our games better.
Yeah, and I love that about Bethesda. I love that about them, that they support the community like that.
Yeah. I reckon, just to touch on what Luke Steele's saying, I want that, I don't care if, the fucking space, exploration or whatever it is 30 FPS, but if you're on the ground, if your boot's on the ground and you're walking around these planets, I want it to be 60 frames a second. I get that with the mass exploration, then that'll probably drop down to 30, or even the cinematics. I don't care if they're 30 frames a second, but I want to see 60 when you're on the fucking ground. It's just, it has to happen.
You'd hope.
Yeah. Anyway, we've talked a lot about last night's showcase and the shit show that it was. So should we get into some planned topics, like the last segment of the show?
Sure, go ahead.
So, Xbox titles are now starting to come to Boosteroid as part of their 10-year agreement to bring Activision games and Xbox games to all these cloud services. So you've got the first Xbox games coming to Boosteroid in June. I don't actually know what they are, because I'm a professional host, but they're bringing Gears of War 5, Deathloop, Grounded, Pentiment to Geforce now as of next week. So I would expect the same sort of games to be coming to Boosteroid. So it's nice to see that even though the CMA have gone, nope, fuck you, you're not having this deal, that they're still honoring those cloud agreements. I mean, it's always good when you can bring more games to other platforms.
They're pushing the hell out of the Gears franchise on all these platforms.
Yeah. It's just, it's weird, man. It's a weird. I thought it was weird when they still went ahead and was like, yep, you know what, we're still going to bring this to the cloud services, even though the CMA have blocked it. It just seems like an act of defiance. Like, fuck you, this is happening. Don't care what you fucking say, regardless of what you come out with.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that they're still trying to honor that.
I mean, it's a good thing. I was going to say it shows that they actually still care about the gamers, that even if the CMA is like, hey, we're going to block this, they're like, well, we're going to bring it to them anyway. They're taking the high road is essentially what they're doing.
I think it's a good sign that they honor their word. And it's like, hey, we weren't just doing that to get the CMA to pass this. Yeah. We made a deal with you, and we're going to honor it, and we're going to start doing that as quickly as we can. So I think it makes them look fantastic. But I think that especially with the gaming division, with Phil, I think they've always been great about honoring their word on things like that. So it's not a surprise to me at all.
And that's one thing that annoys me, because everybody's like, oh, well, they went against their word for the ZeniMax deal. No, they fucking didn't. They said they were going to honor all existing contracts, which is what they did. And everyone's like, oh, well, they pulled Starfield and Redfall off other consoles. It wasn't as fucking black and white as that. Like, there was a lot of shit that went on. They did honor their agreements. So it's nice to see them like continue that trend and honor it with these cloud services.
And I wouldn't have expected anything less, honestly. Like, it's no surprise to me whatsoever because they've been great about that.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot of good things said about Phil Spencer as well. Like, he does seem like a genuinely nice guy that just keeps to his word. He doesn't seem like one of these fucking bigwigs that just wants to, sabotage shit, which is nice.
Yeah, and it's got to be hard for Phil because, I mean, you see it on his face that he's been put through the ringer these past, at least this past year.
Oh, I'll tell you what, he's aging like a president, isn't he? Fucking hell.
Yeah. Oh,
Jesus.
Yeah.
When he first took over Xbox to how he looks now, he looks fucking battered. He looks like he's weathering a constant storm.
Yes.
Well, at the Game Awards, you guys remember how he looked at the Game Awards. He did not want to be there in that moment. He was not happy. I mean, that was not.
Now, take a week off, Phil. Go to the Bahamas. Fucking rest up. He just looks absolutely battered.
Well, he was volunteered to be there, basically. I don't think he wanted to go there. Like Charlie said. I think Nadella.
You have to go. Yeah.
The Microsoft boss was like, "Hey, you got to go. I'm sorry."
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean, let's move on to something else. I mean, what else? So Jeff Keighley. I always forget. I always get his fucking name wrong. Is it Jeff Keighley?
Yeah.
Jeff Keighley expects
Jeff Sony. Jeff Ryan Jr.
Jeff. Mrs. Hideo Kojima. Yeah. That's him.
Hideo's mistress, Jeff Keighley, expects 3 to 4 pretty big announcements at this year's Summer Game Fest. I can't really think about what they would be. I mean, GTA 6 maybe? Maybe this is the year?
No. Rockstar always does their own thing.
You reckon?
Yeah. Rockstar wants all the focus on them. That's how they are. Rockstar is like that female that walks in the room and holds her hands up and everyone's like, damn, there she is. That's Rockstar. That's how they are. That's how they've always been.
Unless they come out at the Xbox showcase and like unveil it there, which I'm
That's true, but then Xbox got to pull out that money.
That's just us hoping on that.
Right.
We know it's probably not going to happen, but
if you don't have a dream, you can never have a dream come true. So
that's true. That's true.
Do you guys think that maybe he could not necessarily be talking about software, but potential hardware announcements? Do you think that's where Sony? Maybe. Well, I don't like it, but do you think that's where Sony could announce either a Slim or a Pro potentially? I'm not saying they will or that that's even on the table. I'm just saying, do you think maybe that's one of the things he's speaking on?
Maybe. And to be fair, that ties us into another topic that I've got for tonight, which is Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick thinks there'll be a mid-gen refresh.
Yeah.
So maybe it's on the table. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get a mid-gen refresh. I mean, everyone goes out and buys the latest fucking iPhone every year. So
you know what? Go ahead, Charlie.
No, I was just going to say I don't think that it's necessarily got to be the announcement of a Pro, but I do. I mean, Sony's always made a revision to like the size and external appearance of their hardware. So I personally don't want anything yet because I don't think we've seen anything from either console that really grabs me as next generation.
Yeah.
But we're on the timeline where Sony would traditionally announce like a slim model. So I think that would be huge news, even though Sony's always done it. I still think it would be big because I think the PS5 is the ugliest console ever made. It's a good console, but I absolutely hate looking at mine. The black plates helped a little bit, but it's still really ugly.
The first time I saw it, I thought it was the most beautiful console, and then I saw my buddy Tim's. I was like, fuck me, you're huge. You're absolutely huge.
Yeah, the size of it when you actually get it. And I remember what's funny is at first I didn't like the aesthetics of the Series X, but when you actually have it, I've grown to really love it. And I'm like you, when I first saw the PlayStation 5, I was kind of like, well, that's different but cool. But then when you actually get it in your hands, I'm like, what is this monstrosity?
Yeah. It looks like it looks like one of those Dyson fucking air.
It looks like a vagina. Let's just be honest. I mean, it's just, I'm sorry. If this is a family-friendly show, I apologize. But it looks like
I'm sure it would be flagged anyway for limited ads.
Right.
Well, that's just a medical term. Hopefully that won't cause you any problems. But yeah, it's a weird looking console. But I think potentially maybe he's not just talking about software. I could be way off base there, but
You know what? I think there's some credibility to that, and just because we've heard about like some of these current generation consoles having detachable disk drives. They could show it at that show. Like everyone's biggest complaint about the Series S, the power. Everyone's like, oh, the power, but I'm like, the legitimate concern that people have is that it has no disk drive.
I'll tell you. I mean, I think I've spoken to you about this before. My opinion of the Series S is it's a console that was developed for a period that wasn't quite ready yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if cloud gaming was in a much better place where you didn't have to rely on what was on Game Pass and you could just stream everything. You could buy games off the store. You didn't have to worry about it being in fucking Game Pass. Perfect little console. Let the servers do all the hard work, all the grunt work. The Xbox Series S is perfect for that.
Yeah.
But they put it out, and I honestly believe that that's a console that was built for the wrong time.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
I still love it though.
Yeah,
I have one in the bedroom that I play it all the time. I love it.
I mean, for what it does, I mean, it does hold up. But I just think that, if cloud gaming was in a better state and you could stream everything, it'd be a perfect little console.
Yeah, and it's because it's digital, internet is going to have to be a thing. So it's not for everybody, obviously. You have some people that live in areas where internet isn't good, or they want to play Call of Duty, but unfortunately, the small hard drive kind of makes that difficult. It's going to be a challenging console to have, so...
Big shout out to Muppet for the £5 donation for the Freddos. Freddos for all.
I mean, yeah, so it could be technical things they're showing off at this show, I don't want to assume that it's going to be the little handheld that PlayStation showed off. I want to suspect that it's going to be something new.
Yeah.
If as far as games go though, I have no idea, because it seems like this year, as far as possible upcoming games, there's been a lot less leaks this year than there has been in previous years, just because people are overly skeptical. So they don't want a game that they're planning on unveiling to get torn to shreds before the show. It kind of feels like that's why they're playing it real close to the chest this year.
I'll tell you what, that's another thing that really annoyed me about the CMA's decision when they said that the Nintendo Switch couldn't handle a new Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
Because if Xbox had actually was in a position where they could just put an app onto the Nintendo Switch where they could stream the new Call of Duty game to that app off an Xbox server, wouldn't be an issue. Wouldn't be a fucking issue at all. I mean, we're already playing Xbox, games on our mobile phones. So there's no reason why they couldn't have an app that just allowed it to stream from the servers to the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, completely agree.
It's crazy. But yeah, anyway, should we move on to another topic?
Yeah.
Cool. Sure. AEW Fight Forever is coming to Xbox on June 29th. Have you guys seen the gameplay for it?
I think I've seen screenshots. I don't think I've seen the gameplay of it.
Oof.
I've seen some gameplay, yeah.
I'll tell you what, it does look a lot like a THQ game, I'm not going to lie. I quite like that about it. I mean, it does look rough as fuck, but it just...
From 1999, right?
Yeah, it looks fun. It just looks fun, and that's what I like about wrestling games. I prefer it when they're like over the top and, a bit janky, as opposed to being a fucking wrestling sim where everything's slow.
Right.
It just looks fun.
Well, I think we have to remember who's involved in it, and the fact that they made some of the folks that are involved in this had a hand in making some of the most enjoyable wrestling games of years ago.
Really.
Yeah.
And so if they can capture that...
SmackDown versus Raw.
Exactly.
Yep.
So if they can capture that gameplay and the fun factor, then I don't think the graphics are... Because let's be honest, the graphics are not on par with WWE 2K.
No.
But I don't think they necessarily have to be. As long as they're fairly representative of the person that you're playing and the gameplay is there, which is, I think, most important in a game like that, then I think it could be moderately popular.
I really like that the wrestlers look like the Mattel figures. Do you know what I mean? They just
do. They look like action figures. They really do.
That's what I really like about it. I mean, I don't want to see like fucking high visuals and slow, clunky combat from the fucking 2K.
You know, I think there's a place
Yeah.
for both, because I did play quite a bit with my buddies. I played WWE 2K22, and that was a great step up from the prior couple of WWE games.
Yeah.
I think, you know what, it's like, I think
Excuse me.
there's always going to be like that market who likes the WWE games that are more of a wrestling sim, but there's a lot of us that as soon as we find out it's a wrestling sim, no matter how good the lineup is, no matter how good the gameplay is, if it's like a wrestling sim, I'm immediately like, nope, I'm good. You know, I'm immediately going to play something else instead. But if this new AEW game is leaning more heavily on how the THQ games used to be, I'm definitely more likely to say, hey, you know what, I'll check it out. I'll definitely check it out. Because I enjoy those types of experiences, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, you know, again, I think there's room for both experiences.
Yeah.
I think AEW's game is probably going to take a lot of heat because of its visuals.
Yeah.
But again, these are folks that put more of a premium on visuals than actual gameplay. And I think some of us that have been maybe gaming longer or have a more diverse background in gaming, we know that for us, gameplay is like king.
Yeah.
And
especially in a wrestling game, because with a wrestling game, you're talking about tag team, you're talking about cage matches,
right.
body slamming someone through a table. You know, gameplay is king in a wrestling game.
Exactly.
It's
and
king.
If it's right, if it's got a control scheme that's approachable, because, and I don't mean that necessarily the game has to be easy, but
yeah,
what Nintendo mastered over the years was easy to pick up and play, hard to master.
Yeah.
And if it's that type of, if you incorporate those kind of controls, like some of those games used to be, anybody could get there and have a, you know, when you had like, say, the N64 and you had like those WCW versus NWO and all that other stuff that you had at the time, WCW Mayhem and all that. If it's easy for you to get in there and play it and you have a good time, even if you're not the best player, but you can still pull off some of the moves and everything. If they can capture that from those late 90s to mid 2000s games, then I think it'll potentially be, again, moderately successful. I mean, AEW doesn't have the following that WWE has, and it doesn't.
But
have
it's not going to matter though.
Yet.
It's not going to matter if you got that gameplay.
Right. Because word of mouth. I mean, word of mouth is what got me to buy 2K22 because I do still occasionally watch wrestling, and I grew up really liking wrestling, but you know, I haven't played a lot of those games in the past few years because they just haven't been that great. But a lot of folks were saying, no, man, this game is really, really fun. And I actually gave it a shot and bought it. And I was like, this game really is fun. And it had a lot of the stars, you know, kind of mixed in there with the new guys and, you know, a lot of the guys that I liked years ago. So it was fun for me to play as like Ric Flair or Stone Cold Steve Austin or Chris Jericho or somebody. So it was cool to do that. And like you said, I think if they can capture the fun gameplay, I think that's going to be all that matters in this game. I could be wrong.
Right. No, I agree. I got some of my favorite WWE games like of the recent years is probably that WWE Battlegrounds, where it's like an over the top, almost like Def Jam kind of vibe, where it's just like the moves are like superimposed, and those are my favorite kind of games. I just don't like wrestling when it's that like really fucking sim focused wrestling experience.
Right. I think
I like
that
it's over the top.
Yeah, I think us old school guys, we grew up playing wrestling games for the fun and the over the top stuff. It was the fact that you could pick up a chair and hit somebody with it. We weren't doing it for the sim of like, and even on like the 2K games, I don't really like those modes where it's like my GM and let's go through an entire year of I don't really like that stuff as much as I do just logging on with my buddies and we just have like a fatal 4-way or an elimination chamber match. That's what's fun to me is the laughing and the almost winning, but then losing in that last second or vice versa. You know, that's what, to me, the appeal of those games are. And I think if they can capture that, then that's what a lot of folks really want out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. See, for me, I mean, I'm the same. I grew up watching wrestling. I mean, I was a wrestler myself for like 4 years. But wrestling for me was always being the over-the-top character. You know what I mean? Like, And that's part of the reason why I went off WWE for so long, because it just became like, oh, coming down to the ring, John fucking Smith, hey, John Smith. I want to see Undertakers. I want to see Yokozunas. You know, I want to see like proper fucking characters. I love that whole over the top, you know, character.
Yeah. Well, it was like auto racing. You know, I don't know if you guys have ever been into racing, but I was actually having this conversation with somebody the other day. I was a big NASCAR fan in like the 90s, but they had so many people with personality. And you didn't just watch for like the racing, you watched for what might happen because of all those crazy personalities. And wrestling was that's what wrestling was built on, especially in like the late 70s, all through the 80s, even into the late 90s. It was that over the top personality. Like you said, it wasn't these scripted interviews. It was watching a guy who was a master of the promo do his thing, you know. It was seeing guys like Macho Man Randy Savage do their typical promos. It was Hulk Hogan doing the over the top sweaty, oiled up crazy promo. You know, it was Ultimate Warrior running down to the ring shaking, and that's what everybody was it was the spectacle of
an Ultimate Warrior. Give me an Ultimate Warrior or a Hulk Hogan. I don't want to see fucking Bob from Dudley wrestling. Like, oh, get on, Bob. Well done. Nice match, man. I don't want to see that shit. I want to see
some guy with a very stupid made up name that has zero personality and can only do scripted promos. That's not what I want out of it.
Exactly. But yeah. I mean, that's coming out on June 29th, which is cool. Moving on, we've got Ubisoft's massive open world Star Wars game is reportedly planned for a 2024 release.
Thank God.
Yeah, I mean, fucking Ubisoft need to do something, right?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And you know what? Aside from like the Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, the Star Wars games, I guess, have kind of suffered the past couple of generations, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Ubisoft do make some good open world games. I'm not gonna lie, Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, they've got the pedigree for it. But again, it's fucking Star Wars, and it could either go disastrously bad or fantastically good when it comes to Ubisoft.
Yeah, you know what?
And that's in NFTs and live service shit they want to try.
Oh, Jesus. Well, you know what, though? I feel like because it's a licensed IP and because it doesn't belong to them, it belongs to Kathleen Kennedy. And for people who don't know, when the Star Wars Battlefront 2 debacle happened, Kathleen Kennedy ripped Andrew Wilson a new asshole. That's how we got Jedi Fallen Order. So,
is this the one that was meant to be developed by Respawn? Or are they still make one?
Yep. Yeah. Basically, Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out, had tons of negative press around it. Kathleen Kennedy calls Andrew Wilson. She yells and screams at him on the phone. He runs down the hallway at a full sprint, goes into Respawn's office and says, hey, listen, I need you guys to stop whatever you're doing. Can you make a Star Wars game? And they're like, yeah, we could do it. That's how Jedi Fallen Order got made. Right, because he's sweating bullets and shit, and he's like, hey, we need a Star Wars game that's phenomenal. There you go. That's how it got made. Yeah. So Kathleen Kennedy is involved with this. She has a reputation for being extremely Darth Vader like. So I don't think she's gonna let she's not gonna let Ubisoft get away with making a shit game. You know.
And I'm calling it now. I bet you could fucking buy different lightsaber skins for like $2 a pop.
I mean, that's possible, but that's what got EA in trouble. The reason why Respawn didn't have that shit in their game is probably because Kathleen Kennedy said, don't do that shit again. And Andrew Wilson didn't want to get thrown out of his own office window. So I bet we get fucking Star Wars NFTs that you can 3D print. I mean, if it happens, I'd expect Kathleen Kennedy to be throwing the Guillemot guy out of his Ubisoft window. Because she seems pretty ruthless.
Needs to go though, don't he? Let's be honest. I mean, everyone keeps saying fucking like talking bad about Ubisoft, but all their problems could be solved if they just got rid of Guillemot.
Because they have good people working for them. It's just the management sucks.
That's always been my thing with them. I like a lot of their games.
Me too.
I do think that they've gone too far in the open world direction because I'm more of a. I'm like John Linneman. That might be one of the few things I agree with him on a lot of times, but. Sometimes I want a more linear experience. I don't always want just like this endless, gigantic open world with 60 million side quests to have to do. But I still think they do quality work. And I think that, kind of like you're saying, Steve, I think that they still have some really talented people there. and some of their stuff is still absolutely great. I just think a lot of folks have jumped on the hate train for them. But I'm like you. I think that a lot of their problems are very easily fixable.
Just get them all.
Yeah, they're just well, I don't think that's going to happen necessarily right away. But
you know what? I think if there's enough heat from within and from the customers, he'll step down. That's what I think.
Just look what he said the other month, where he's blaming the fucking developers for why Ubisoft's in the toilet.
Yeah, that was completely uncalled for.
Low class. Yeah, absolutely.
Fucking Jesus.
You know what? Because it's like
harder for developers as well when they got all this added shit that they're expected to put into the game just to keep Guillemot happy.
Well, you know what? Throws you under the bus.
And you look at games like Assassin's Creed where people said, "Hey, the only protagonist you were supposed to have from Assassin's Creed Syndicate was Evie. The only the only one you were supposed to have from Odyssey was Cassandra." Yeah. But it's
to be fair though, Aminette was supposed to be the protagonist of AC Odyssey. It wasn't meant to be by it. And what's really fucking stupid is out of those 3 games, the female leads were the ones that stole the fucking game. They were the best part of the game. Jacob sucked. Bayek sucked. Fucking Alexos sucked. They weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, but it was only management. It was management that said, "Hey, you have to have a male protagonist in this."
We don't believe in strong female lead characters. Fuck off. Lara Croft's been doing this shit for years. 2 million sold fucking how many copies?
Right.
People love strong female lead characters. I mean, I do. I mean, given the choice, I'll always choose a fucking badass female over a fucking dull as fuck muscle bound, dickhead.
Yeah.
Well, if the game is good and the visuals are good and the structure is good, nobody cares who the lead is necessarily. I mean,
Ubisoft
there could be exceptions, right? But what I'm saying is that gamers don't really care as much about that if everything else is right. People aren't not going to buy a game because it has a female lead or an alien lead or whatever. If the game's good otherwise, none of that stuff really should matter.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
The annoying thing about the Cassandra, I mean, Odyssey for me, like in particular, I mean, I played that game as Cassandra from start to finish. The voice acting was fucking superb. Her the story behind, the DLC with Cassandra as well was absolutely superb. She was written perfectly, and she had this fucking bolted-on counterpart. And that's the one thing I hated about Valhalla, right? You got this game that's meant to be built on the idea that you go back and you experience your ancestors' memories through their DNA. But apparently, you can now decide what fucking gender they are.
Yeah, male or female.
Why? Why? Why are we letting the animus decide? Just give us a fucking male or give us a female. Like, you don't need to have this flip-flopping. I hate this shit where they try to appease people. That's where Ubisoft really failed.
And Valhalla kind of feels like it was a compromise between management and the workers.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, which is unfortunate.
But, I believe the female Eivor is canon, isn't she?
Yes,
so
I believe so.
Why the fuck is there a male part? Like, if you're deliberately going to write someone as canon, why are you having an alternative?
Because 10 people somewhere complained about not having a male protagonist, probably.
I'm not playing a female. Well, fucking don't play the game then, you dick. I hate that. Anyway, let's move on to another topic. So, Take-Two has also claimed that it's not seeing any consumer resistance to $70 price tags. Well, if people have got no fucking choice, then of course they're not going to. It's a bit of a...
Yeah, I mean, really, if we're going to play, we're going to have to pay it, but that doesn't mean that we necessarily like it. I'm always happy when something comes out at like $39.99. Metroid Prime Remastered, I was so tickled that wasn't a full price game because it's an awesome game. But even Resident Evil 4 Remake was only $59.99 for the standard version. I think I paid for the deluxe anyway. But point being is that was my choice to pay the higher price.
Yeah. To be fair, though,
rather than it being just forced on me.
Fair play to Alan Wake 2 for like only having a digital only version just to keep the cost down. Because I believe that game's launching for like 49 quid here in the UK for the standard, and then 54 for the digital only, for the deluxe edition. So I'd much rather see that, honestly. I'd much rather see cheaper fucking games that are only digital only.
Yeah,
Well,
and the reason why it's like why that's justifiable is because if it's physical, you have to, you have to print the discs, you have to put the case together, you have to ship it from point A to point B. You basically need all of these retailers to stock the game. But
Yeah.
digital, you're just downloading it from a server essentially. That's all you're doing. So it cuts
Yeah.
out so much cost. There's no reason for it
Right.
to be $70 for a digital copy.
and
I'd
that's
much rather
long
see
been a
that.
question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, all right.
I was just going to say that's a long been a question that I've had even before this generation. I'm a physical guy, and for Switch and PlayStation especially, I'll buy physical because I think that they hold their value well. And if I don't like it, I can always probably get a little more for it by going physical. I do buy a lot of digital on Xbox, but I like having the option. But tell me why a digital copy of anything is $70,
Yeah.
yet the physical is
Yeah.
also $70.
That's the
That
one
makes
thing that always
zero
like,
sense to me.
That's the one thing that always pissed me off about PC games because they're notoriously cheaper than fucking
Oh, absolutely.
console games. So yeah, it's really annoying. I don't like these. I mean, I know that game costs and development costs are going up, but for fuck's sake, I mean, if you'd sell a lot more games if they were cheaper, do you know what I mean?
Well, I agree. If a digital copy is only going to cost you, and there's a lot of folks that want to see everything go digital. Well, heck, if you make that $20 cheaper to buy, you're going to sell a lot more, especially up front,
Yeah.
than you are having to price everything at the same price. And I mean, again, you don't have any overhead. You don't have to make anything, material. You don't have to ship anything out. So tell me why I'm paying the same price for something that I can't tangibly say that I own.
Yeah. Exactly.
When that guy that goes and buys the physical actually has something he could trade in, he can give to a friend, he can give as a gift, he can sell, that's never made a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and if people have got a little bit of extra spare change in their pocket, they can, put that towards another game. They don't have to like you were saying earlier, choosing between Dead Island and that Jedi.
Right.
You don't have to pick and choose as much. Just
Yeah, because I ended up buying Jedi Survivor digitally anyway because I wanted to play it on both my Series S and my Series X. And if I would have been able to get that for $50, that would have been like $30 more I could have put towards Dead Island 2 that same month. So it just I've never understood it, but I'm sure there's an explainable. There's a reason somebody could give me for it.
Right.
Anyway, let's move on to another topic. So EA Sports is confident with its first football game without the FIFA license. You fucking should be. There is no alternative. This is a dumb topic. I don't understand why this is a topic. I mean, blame BMG. He seems to pull these fucking out of nowhere.
Right. Yep.
But it's not even like they're going up against Pro Evolution. There is literally nothing else.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I was going to say. If you want to play an international football game, you're going to be playing that anyway if you're on console. So
yeah. That's just a really bizarre topic. I don't know why he's chosen that. BMG strikes again.
And it's my understanding that they're really not changing much about it other than the license. So is it really even a problem?
They have to change the name of or lose some of the appearances of. I don't think it's actually a massive big deal, but there is no alternative. So of course they're going to be confident.
But the gameplay itself should be pretty much the same, especially from them, right? So
I believe the grass is greener, and I believe there's more fans in the crowd, like there is every FIFA. I want better ball mechanics. We always get better ball mechanics.
Right.
Goalies are meant to be improved. That's what I always loved about FIFA, because everybody ate that shit up. Every year they would come out and be like, well, we got better ball mechanics. Like, what the fuck does that even mean?
They say that about every sports franchise that they have.
Yeah.
NBA 2K, better shooting mechanics.
Oh,
better 3-point,
You got better lighting. Oh, great. Fucking take my $70. For fuck's sake.
It's still always the same game at the end of the day.
Well, that's the case with a lot of sports games. It's like if you update the roster, fine, but you know what? It's like the best way to go about like a lot of these sports games is don't sell full price these new games. Just pay like $10 or $15 to have them update the roster as an update.
I actually argued that probably a month ago. Put out a game maybe every 2 or 3 years, but if it's essentially going to, and I know that they won't do that because of the money thing, but let somebody pay $15 or $20 annually to update the roster.
Yeah.
To maybe add any DLC, like any new, maybe an addition to a mode or any new mechanics that you might work in. But let somebody pay a very nominal price to get an updated roster for every team, and then just put a full version game out, maybe 3-4 years or whatever, during a generation. They won't do that ever, but that would make so much more sense, and that would probably make a lot more people happy, because people don't like paying $70 for the same game year in, year out, just to get the new roster,
Yeah,
I agree. You better believe they're going to milk the shit for everything it's worth. I bet there's still an
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else have we got to talk about tonight? So, it's actually a good little topic. Apparently, there is a planned Starfield-themed accessories coming out in the shape of a headset and a controller. You would sit there tugging on your testicles for 2 hours and nothing to talk about. You ain't wrong, let's be honest.
Right.
So yeah, according to this, you are going to be getting a Starfield-themed headset and a Starfield-themed controller.
Nice.
Fair enough. I'm not really into these, fucking special editions. They're usually pretty pants. But the controller will set you back $80, and the headset will set you back $125. So they're quite pricey. Yeah, they'll probably be, your standard fucking Xbox designs and stuff. That's what annoys me about special editions as well on Xbox. I mean, they got a fucking brick. They could literally put anything on that. And they always do, the bog standard, bare-bones designs.
But to be fair, Sony hasn't been doing anything any different.
Yeah, I suppose they can't really on that fucking monstrosity. Let's be honest.
Right. Well, I mean, with the plates, though, you think that they could make graphics and everything else, and even on their controller, it's got that removable faceplate. But I saw the other day where they announced the Final Fantasy 16 controller from Japan, and it literally looks like they just put some applique on the side handles, and that was pretty much it. You've got a little bit on that center thing, but I'm like, that's it, and you're going to charge $80 for that bad boy, and it's really just very plain. But Microsoft's not really doing much better.
I remember when the PlayStation 5 first came out, there was a company here in the UK that was deliberately going out their way to make custom plates for the PlayStation 5, and Sony went after them so aggressively they had to shut down.
That sucks. You know what? It's I could understand if Sony themselves was putting these out, but they're not. It's just let them do it, because they're supporting your console essentially. They're giving people a reason to support the PS5, because it's making your PS5 look stylish, and it's when people start showing these on social media, it's going to spread like wildfire. Hey, I got to pick up a PS5 so I can have custom plates and this and that. It supports the brand. It's not detrimental to the brand.
And there's nothing worse than those fucking stickers you have to stick on your console that boosted your fucking thermals. Do you remember those things that used to come out? You sticker packs, so you had to stick all over your console.
Yeah.
That was fun. Anyway, here's some good Redfall news. Lord of the Rings Gollum is now the worst reviewed game of the year. So, go on, Redfall.
I don't think that surprised anyone, though.
I'm disappointed. I was actually moderately interested in seeing what that game turned out to be, and it's everything I read today is not positive.
It's one of those games. It's one of those games that, again, that just makes me go, "What the fuck were you thinking? Give us a Shadow of Mordor sequel." That game was brilliant.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get some of these gaming decisions. I should be a fucking game developer. That's what it is. I'm a wasted talent. I'm wasted here. Wasted here at XBL. Get me fucking giving my feedback on games.
Yeah.
Well, that's an IP that you think would be conducive to having a pretty cool game made around it.
Well, but who wants to play as Gollum, though?
I don't know. I mean, there are some hardcore Lord of the Rings fans. And like I said, I was interested in seeing how it turned out, but I'm also not surprised that it didn't turn out well. I'm kind of surprised at a 38 Metacritic. I mean, I was expecting maybe mid 50s or 60s, but yeah, it's apparently really, really bad.
It just looks shit. It just looks like a shit game.
It'll be $10 for this holiday. They'll have it on sale.
It's gonna be fucking $10 before the end of the week at this rate.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, there have been much better games drop significantly. I think I got Far Cry 6 literally 2 weeks after it released for like $20 brand new.
Mm.
So this one's going to be really
Good game,
cheap,
though.
really quick. Yeah.
Like Far
Oh,
Cry
yeah.
6.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, there are far better games that have gone
Yeah,
cheap
Far
really
Cry 5.
quick.
It was a good game. Far Cry 5 is peak Far Cry for me at this point.
Yeah, Far Cry 5 was straight. It was like aside from the hunting, I think Far Cry 5 was the best.
You get to run around Montana and kill Christian fanatics. I mean, what more could you want? Fucking weird.
Yeah.
I don't feel
Jesus.
so bad about saying vagina now.
Yeah, right. Well, you know what?
And my wife.
If
Go
BMG
ahead.
was on this show, he would end every show saying a certain something that would have to be edited out. Every single show, he says a certain something at the end. So
Every fucking time.
yeah, you guys aren't bad compared to that stuff. So you guys are good so far.
To be fair, you're not as bad as Sentinel was like fucking 7 weeks ago.
Oh, Jesus.
Every fucking show I was having to go in and edit him.
Yes.
He just gets passionate sometimes.
Yeah, you know, I have improved my podcasting skills. There you go. That's what it is.
Console passion just bleeds through every now and then.
Yeah.
Anyway, is there anything else you guys want to talk about? I mean, we're out of topics, so.
What do you guys think about Avowed? Do you think it's launching this year?
I don't think it'll launch this year. I think we'll see it this year.
No,
Yeah,
I think we might. Go ahead.
Well, because it kind of seems like, you know, there's the Gollum landed with a thud, and it kind of seems like there's room for a Lord of the Rings type of game, and Avowed with all the magical spells and all that other stuff. It kind of feels like it would fill that gap that we're seeing right now.
I just think it's too soon. Yeah, I don't think.
But how long have they been working on it though?
Not very long, but it got shown off the same showcase as Fable. So, was it Fable?
This is Microsoft, though, so that game's not ready.
Yeah,
and I don't
game's-
say that
game's
just to be
been out for
cheeky. I
4
mean,
years.
Well, but what
Yeah.
studio is working on Avowed right now though?
It's Bethesda in it. I think they're working on it.
No, I didn't think they were. I mean they might be, but I'm not sure.
So Google.
And then it's like, what is In Exile working on? Because their social media on Twitter has
In
been fire.
entertainment.
Yeah. You know, I don't know what game they're working on. They seem pretty
crazy,
confident, though.
I
Yeah,
think
we have-
that's kind of the negative around Microsoft right now is it's just taking so long to get these games out. But at the same
Yeah.
time, when you have a Redfall type of situation, I think that's going to delay some of these even further.
Yeah, but with Redfall, though, that was Bethesda because Bethesda was operating independently from Xbox.
Right, but I still think that they give these studios a lot of leeway in determining when they want to get things out. You know, because it was almost like when Matt Booty came out and said, "Well, I'm talking to the guys at Fable, and I really wanted to show you some gameplay, but they said no." I'm like, "You're Matt effing Booty. If I want gameplay shown, by God, you're going to give me 60 seconds of gameplay to show."
I just think Matt Booty is just basically driving down there, hanging out in the lobby, and he'll come back and tell Phil Spencer, "Oh yeah, I talked to him, but they said give me 10 or 15, weeks or whatever." And I don't think he's really doing shit.
Donuts in the break room, getting him a cup of coffee. And
Yes.
well, see you guys.
He's just trying to justify his wages, act like he did something. He's not really doing anything. Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair though, I mean, Obsidian are making Avowed, and they've put out some fucking bangers. I mean,
Yeah, Obsidian is pretty good.
yeah. They did the
So
Outer
did
Worlds,
Arcane
didn't they?
Austin, but here
They
we
did
are.
Grounded.
You know what they should have done? They should have had id Software go down there and secretly make Redfall, but not tell anyone. And then everyone had been like, "Fuck, Redfall runs at 120 frames per second, 4K on the Series S. The systems are catching on fire. Who the fuck made this game?" And id Software was like, "It was really us."
Just-
And we're like, "Oh yeah, that makes
just
sense."
give everybody at it a huge bonus and say, "Keep your mouth shut.
Yes.
Here's a
yes.
big chunk of change. We'll let
Because-
Arcane Austin take credit for it."
Yes, because the way id Software is, they're basically like that tough son of a bitch that's in the corner that you know can beat the hell out of everyone. They're who you go to if you're in that bar fight and you're losing. They're the person you go to save your ass. id Software is them.
So underutilized.
Yeah,
And they've
exactly.
got one of the best engines.
Yeah,
Like, it's fucking crazy. I mean, what they can do with that, with the software is crazy. I don't understand. Right, here's an idea. Take fucking 343 off Halo. Put id Software on it. Let them have a fucking crack. I mean, it's software put out what Unreal Tournament, was it Unreal Tournament they put out or Quake? I can't remember, but either way, that engine is fucking just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
You know what? I hope the reason why id Software isn't being heavily utilized right now is because they're working on a Quake reboot. That's what I hope.
Maybe we'll get a Wolfenstein 3.
Well, Machine Games is working on the Indiana Jones game right now.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
So they're tied up right now.
I think they've been using id mostly for support, which is kind of a shame. But I think that's what role they've had to play because they're so good at what they do.
Yeah.
So I think that they've been using them more in a support role than actually just kind of saying like, okay, go make a game, you know. Yeah. And again, that's kind of a shame, but that's just kind of what I gather.
Cheers for the super chat, buddy. Really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us and giving us your money. Awesome, dude. Yeah, I want to see id Software used more, or just put out more games. I mean, that engine's fucking gorgeous.
You know, and we talk about how Coalition is stuck with Gears. I kind of feel like Playground Games voiced that, hey, you know what, we want to make something other than Forza Horizon, and that's how they were offered the Fable project. And I wish that Coalition would do the same thing and go to Microsoft or Xbox, or Phil Spencer, whoever, and say, hey, you know what, we want to make something other than Gears. Can we maybe make, you know, Punisher, Blade, something, you know?
I want to know what's going on with Perfect Dark as well, because like I remember like the initiative was being touted as this, you know, this big new studio, and it sounds like all development duties have pretty much been offloaded onto fucking Crystal Dynamics at this point. So what is the initiative doing?
You know, and then they said, oh, the initiative only has like 10 people in it. I'm like, what the hell is that? How is that like a quadruple A studio?
I'll tell you what, man, Xbox really dropped the ball by not picking up Crystal Dynamics when they had the opportunity.
And Eidos Montreal, tell me about it.
I mean, they're literally helping you develop your fucking game. You can't buy them out.
Well, they were tied up with the ABK thing, and that's why I say the ABK thing is just, it's kind of like shit in the toilet that you have to clear with the plunger before you can get other stuff going. That's all they are, because it's like, I don't give a shit about ABK.
Shit in the toilet that you have to clear with a plunger.
Best analogy I've ever heard.
And that's all it is. It's like most of us are just like, get them out of the way. If you got to pay them off with $2 billion, pay them off with $2 billion. Just get them the fuck out of the way so you can grab companies like Crystal Dynamics and EA and whoever else you're going to grab. But ABK was like, hell no, kick them out of the building. Don't even talk to them. You know?
That is incredible. I'm telling you what,
glad you like it. One. I'm glad you like it.
That's good on
But it's true.
They are a shit in the toilet.
And nobody else can use the toilet until it's gone. So
there you go.
Everybody's standing around waiting. Because...
And CMA is standing outside of the bathroom. I'm sorry, you can't use a plunger. I'm sorry.
You're right. CMA's got the plunger locked away. They're like, we're not giving you the key.
Yeah, they threw the key up on the house, and you're like, where's the ladder? Locked in our truck. You're not getting it. And you're like, you motherfuckers.
And Jim Ryan's driving the truck, so...
Down the block and around the corner, yep. He went to get coffee and donuts.
We created a whole narrative with your analogy. We just created a whole narrative with your analogy.
I'm posting that on Twitter. That's incredible. They are a shit in the toilet. You have to clear with a plunger.
Yep, quality content.
You heard it here,
the
folks.
X-bots are going to come after you.
Fuck them. I don't give a shit.
The X-bots are going to get you.
Yeah, fuck them.
Incredible. Right. I'll tell you what, we've been going quite a while now. Should we just call it a night? We've run out of topics and shit.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
I'll tell you what, I've had a really good show tonight. This has been a lot of fun. Charlie, big thank you for coming on and being a guest. Do you want to let everybody know where we can find you and stuff on Twitter and all your other stuff?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Charlie_Hust, HUST77. I know that's a weird one, but that's what I got. So, but you can also find me on the Backlog Bastard podcast on Wednesday nights at 8:00 Eastern time with Spooky Sprocket and Cerebral Paul, if you guys know who they are. Both cool dudes, and we just do essentially the same thing. We just chat about the week's news in gaming and occasionally some other pop culture topics. But yeah, that's where I'm at. If you want to give me a follow, I'll follow you back. And appreciate you guys having me, man. It was a whole lot of fun. Always love to chat games, but you guys are both a ton of fun, and we covered a lot of topics, had a really great time, and truly appreciate the invite and appreciate everybody in chat for putting up with me for a couple of hours.
appreciate you coming on. It's been a lot of fun, and it's been good having you here. So yeah, cheers for coming on.
I appreciate it.
You can catch me in Sentinel with the usual place, on the XPN network. We are on Twitter and shit, and on Discord. So, it's been a great show tonight. Big thank you to everybody that tuned in the chat. Paul AFC, you got Muppet, you got Thimber, you got BMG, you got Sappho, you have got Cypher was here at one point. Timmy, Darius, I keep calling him fucking Darius. He's not. He's Daz. UK Daz. Luke Steele, Stubbs dropped by for a bit. Really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us. If I did miss you, I do apologize. Is it the Destiny show on Sunday, or is that the PSN show? I can never remember now. Is it Destiny? It's Destiny.
On Sunday, it's going to be the Destiny show, if BMG has one. I believe he is, though.
No worries. So on Sunday, you can catch BMG, hopefully if he's recovered from his fucking PSN showcase meltdown. I believe that's at 8:30 or 8 o'clock, but you can catch him on Sunday. You can catch the PSN Party Podcast on Tuesdays now, I believe, at 8:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And you will catch me and the fellas back here again next Thursday at 8 o'clock British Standard Time. So, yeah, cheers for tuning in, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Leave a comment on the video if you've enjoyed it or whatever. Helps us out with the algorithm and all that fun shit. So, yeah, good night, everyone. Have a good night.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, everybody.